right, Jules, let's dive into this a little bit more. One thing I should point out is I only looked at players who'd been at their team at least 2 years. So this excludes, for example, Romelu Lukaku, because obviously it's only been one season. There's one thing that jumped out at me is I look at defenders, right? So in my top 10, you have Kyle Walker, John Stones, Benjamin Mendy, Aymeric Laporte, and Ruben Dias. You've got 5 Manchester City defenders. And, okay, Mendy obviously gets 1 out of 5, not anything for many reasons.
Yeah.
But the others, I all gave them 3 out of 5. And again, 3 means you lived up to your price. People are saying, Kyle Walker's been exceptional. I'm like, yeah. Kyle Walker was the most expensive right back. I think still is the most expensive right back in the world.
Yeah.
And I was skeptical. I thought they overpaid for Kyle Walker, given his age as well. But no, you hit it out of the park, 100%. But you can't say he far surpassed expectations.
There was a lot of mistakes made as well.
It is interesting, though, and I wonder, Ruben Dias I gave 4 out of 5 because he was player of the season in his first year straight away. And I think that is fair to say that surpassed expectations.
Yeah, completely.
But it's interesting with defenders. Is there a knack for it? Is there a lesson here that if you're 100% on your guy, then throw the money at him and he'll perform? Or are defenders helped if you have a good coach, because ultimately they move into a structure?
Yeah.
And they're easier to integrate into a structure, I guess.
I think it's maybe easier to settle in if you're a goalkeeper or a defender, especially in the top team. And I think what helps massively is if you play alongside top players as well. I think I don't know, we can debate the reason why Harry Maguire is top of your list with 1 out of 5, which is
Who's top of my list is the most expensive.
Yeah. So he's the most expensive defenders and in the history of the game, and he has a 1 out of 5 rating, which I completely agree with you. So he's top of your list, and I think if you look at the reasons why you gave him 1 out of 5, is 1, because he's not very good, 2, because the team around him was a circus, 3, because I don't think he's got the mindset to be able to deal with such a price tag, so much expectations. And I think the mindset is a key on a lot of those players. The ones who didn't do well or don't do well or who have a very low ratings, Tanguy Ndombele. Again, I don't think he has the mindset to be a world-class player and to justify the amount of money that Spurs have paid for him. Naby Keita, I'm not convinced either. And I think you go down the route of mentally, the one who usually do the best, especially on a lot of money and things like that, are the strongest, are the one with that drive, are the one with that ambition. Again, Kepa, I don't think Kepa mentally is capable of coping with the kind of expectations and pressure that top clubs, world-class players have, and you go back to Buffon earlier that you mentioned, or Neuer. I think they're so strong, in that kind of ambition and drive, that I think he also sets them apart from other goalkeepers or other players.
I also considered the price, how much you're paying for somebody. I have a friend who's in the world of hedge funds, and one of the things they specialize in is buying distressed assets or undervalued assets, and he said there's no bad asset, there's only bad pricing. So it's a question of assessing the risk, right? So Harry Maguire is 26 years old, and he cost 87 million. Again, I'm not picking on Maguire, right? And he cost 87 million euros, right? He was the most expensive player in the world. Had Harry Maguire come for 40 million euros at 26, maybe he wouldn't be 1 out of 5. His performances would be exactly the same, because he had a tremendous season. He had a season where he played a lot.
Yeah.
And then he had a horrendous season this year and issues with the fans. Maybe he'd be 2 out of 5. Maybe he would be closer to that kind of break-even mark. And for me, what's also interesting about this list is, at least as far as the defenders are concerned, is there's a pattern here. Other than Van Dijk and Walker, the players who cost a lot of money and who lived up to the expectations are all younger players. De Ligt, I gave him 3 out of 5. And the reason I gave him 3 out of 5 is that he hasn't been phenomenal. He hasn't been bad either. But he's still 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
And you spent a ton of money on him, so that means that you can either sell him, get a big chunk of that money back, or you get him and he grows and so on. So obviously he needs to perform better. But so far, you could say, he's on track. When you arrive at 19, same thing for João Felix, right? When you arrive at 19, you're going to be patient. Now with João Felix, I say this is not a deal you do again, because 3 years later, I don't know how far he's progressed.
Yeah, you haven't seen any improvement.
And you spend 127 million on him, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I find your list fascinating, and I think we can go through every player, and everybody at home will do the same, and we go and say, I would have given 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. The thing that I find it hard to incorporate almost is the injuries, because Lucas Hernandez, he's a good defender, a really good defender. He's a World Cup winner. And the injuries, to some extent, were not his fault. And I think to have your time at a club, especially after a club invested so much money on you, like it is for Lucas, 80 million euros is a lot of money. With the release clause, it's either you pay, you don't pay it. Bayern paid it. But for even himself to be hampered by injuries that are injuries that can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe there's things he could do better and more to avoid the injuries, but still, is the bit where no one can control really, to a certain extent.
But that's why you have to be cold-hearted on this. It's not, if I give Lucas Hernandez 2 out of 5, it doesn't mean that Lucas Hernandez is a bad person or he's been lazy or whatever. It just means most likely they don't do this deal again if they know that he's going to be injured. For it's all with the benefit of hindsight, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it wasn't the right deal at the time. Although, for me, 80 million euros at that age, I think way too much money for an undersized center back, who played left back, obviously, for France. So, to me, it's pretty binary there, right? In the end, we look back and you have to consider the injuries.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.